So, I've talked about the closet and the practices of pushing heteronormativity as a way to basically optimize revenue. Very common practice. Everyone thought it ended with the studio system in Hollywood, but no, it just went underground and it became institutionalized. And despite the advances in, workers' rights and human rights and civil rights and, California being very, very pro-worker, it still endures. And it endures for reasons that, morals clauses and legal contracts and PR relationships and basically the scaring of talent that begins at a really young age. I've talked about Lance Bass being told at 16 that if he came out, that he'd ruin his life and the life of his best friends. And that's a lot to put on a 16-year-old. I mean, being 16 is hard enough. Imagine it being in a fishbowl and then all this money's on the line. It's all up to you. And to think that adults did this. And of course, they'll justify it with saying it was for his best interests. And when you think about, I think this has me thinking again about Larry Stylinson and why it's just so special. It's kind of like if there is a modern day LGBTQ plus Romeo and Juliet, it's these two, because it is so enduring. And I think it's not so much are they together, they not, because they may never come out. And they may never even confirm if they were together or are together. It's what it represents. And it's the institution that was against two very young people. And it's not the first incidence of this. It's happened many times. It's the interference and the degree of interference in relationships, even same-sex relationships, where I think it was a girl band called All Saints, where I think it was Nicole Apperton was the singer, and she was engaged to Robbie Williams, and they were like really excited about their first baby, and she was fucking goddamn pressured to have an abortion, and then that ended their relationship. And I don't think that relationship would have gone down the trajectory it did if it had not been for the interference, where to the extent that they put profit over people is heinous. And if you think that they can do that I think this was in the late 90s, and they haven't changed a bit, it's not far off to think that they did this to Larry Stylinson. But, I think this is why when I see Harry's old photos when he was 16, 17, and, many fandom talks about how the frat boy era Harry, the 18, 19-year-old Harry was, that time in his life, he was on top of the world professionally, with the band so successful, but it was like the most heartbreaking year, apparently. Now, I don't know if that's just Tumblr rumor or a Reddit rumor, but I've heard that many times, because it's around that time where you started to see footage of Louis and Eleanor, and there's this raw footage of Harry kicking a soccer ball towards them as they're walking hand in hand, and he looks really upset, and he sits down on the ground, and it's so uncharacteristic of Harry to be tossing a soccer ball towards Louis and Eleanor. I mean, you just don't think of Harry as an aggressive, angry person, I don't think that was staged. So I do believe that if that period was the hardest for him, that video captured it all. And it goes to this, back in the 70s, there was a movie called The Promise. And I think it's on YouTube, but it's badly made, but the story was not bad. And it's about this thing about interference into two people's lives, where, one moment, if I find the movie The Promise, I'll link it, because there's a scene in that movie where the woman who was told to pretend that she was gone from someone she's intended to marry, and she tells the person who did it that, no one deserves to, commit a crime against, commit like a crime against nature of separating two people that love each other. And I think that movie comes to mind in this moment, because that's a lot of what Larry Stylinson is this fighting against this machine, and them being so young and having to go through this, and knowing that this was a colossal plan to not only push a heteronormative, but to also like literally break them up, because they've done it. They've broken up straight couples. You don't think they won't break up same-sex couples? That's even more, detrimental apparently to their bottom line. And yet it's the bravery of a Louis Tomlinson, and it's the softness of Harry Styles, and how together I think that they did weather it. I really do. And I think that the people that are Larry's know what they've been through, and they want to give them support that they could not get at the time. And also, I think it's a reminder that the fans will really will not leave you. So that said, I think Larry Stylinson, I'm glad it's back in the discourse, because there's a bigger issue that Larry Stylinson actually represents.